The ritual was to gather every Friday evening at the Junction, a cozy pub about 2 blocks from the office. With Kai at her grandparents', I'd usually meet Gianna, news writer extraordinaire, and Cori, web content editor, to share a few drinks, a few laughs, and enjoy the local musical talent. But the usual girls' night out was seriously lacking as Gianna was MIA and the laughter was practically non existent. Instead, I was under Cori's intense scrutiny of my social life or lack thereof. Cori, who was 14 years my senior, felt obligated to voice her opinion on every aspect of my life. Without Gianna as a neutral mediator, it was Cori's prime opportunity to examine and interrogate me as if she were the CIA. Aren't you the least bit curious about his whereabouts? I mean, Kai has a right to know who her father is, and frankly, he should know that he is a 9-year-old kid. I pretended to be intensely interested in the glass of wine in front of me. Trying to ignore Cori's ebony-eyed glare was no easy feat. The woman had been grilling me since I sat down at our usual corner table. After reading pages of copy and cryptic emails from irritating writing staff, I was in no mood for the cross-examination of my personal life. As far as I was concerned, the circumstances behind the disappearance of Kai's father were off limits. I'd only revealed to Cori that our departure from each other was mutual. I downed the last bit of the red wine and caught the attention of a server walking past our table. "Excuse me, I need an iced tea, preferably with Long Island in front of it." Cori shrugged her concede, but the loud sigh before she finished a cherry tomato out of her garden salad and gracefully popped it into her mouth was a sign of how exasperated she was with my lack of cooperation. I was the only one that should have been irritated. Best friend or not, she had no right to pry, especially when I wasn't in the mood for sharing. The fact of the matter is, I was and still am angry with Kai's father. He'd made a complete fool of me, and I was thick enough to believe that he actually liked me. Who the heck had I been kidding? Me. Myself, of course. I hated him for it. How he made me feel special for those few hours, and then I find out 2 months later I was pregnant. Top 5% of my class, expected to graduate the following year with honors. My eyes on Northwestern, and I was freaking pregnant. The server returned with my Long Island on cue. I thanked her profusely and took a very unladylike gulp of the amber liquid. Cori polished off her own glass of Merlot. "So, I should probably bring you up to speed." I broke it off with Lee. Pity party over. It was my turn to give unsolicited relationship advice. "I won't lie, I'm glad you decided to finally leave him, Cori. He was no good for you, and he wasn't exactly marriage material." "No one said I was planning on walking down the aisle with him, Taiyo. It was just me having a good time as usual, that's all." I knew she was lying. Marathon date or not, Cori had made many references to the utopian white picket fence, 2.5 kids, and a dog. I even caught her flipping through a bridal magazine left on the table in the break room. Instead of calling her on her bull, I went along with her charade. As usual, you end up coming out of the relationship with nothing to show but, a few nights of sex. "Don't forget Steamy." She grinned and bit her bottom lip reminiscently. That man had an insatiable appetite, I bet. Her overly active sex life reminded me of my own desolate one. "Shots of tequila," I suggested. She raised a perfectly coiffed brow at me. Gone was a sheepish grin from her full lips. "Just because I'm not looking for Mr. Right like you and Gianna doesn't mean my life is empty. I may be 41, but I plan on enjoying myself as long as possible. Besides, I tried the marriage bit before, or have you forgotten? How could I forget the infamous Derek? He was the epitome of losers, needy, broke, unemployed, No goals. To top it off, he'd purposely tried to impregnate her by puncturing holes in his condoms. I smiled to myself, remembering how I yelled, "Trojan man!" every time his name came up. Well, thank the maker you didn't make it to the altar. Your mom and dad almost had a conniption when you'd announced your engagement, and that's putting it lightly. Her father had threatened to exorcise whatever demons had possessed her soul to seriously consider marrying the jackbutt. She laughed. Derek was truly in a class all by him lonesome. Although not exactly the original, I have to admit the starving artist hippie persona is a bit played out. A bit? That gig went out with Madonna's Like a Virgin look, and he was as much an artist as Madonna was a virgin. Hammering a few pieces of scrap metal together isn't exactly what I would consider art, Cori. Forever the critic, aren't we, Sewell? Lest you forget, my BFF, art is in the eye of the beholder. No, Cori. That would be beauty. By this time, I had another Long Island, and Cori had finished her second glass of Merlot and had graduated to rum and coke. We were both well on our way to getting, well, drunk. Even through the more relaxed laughs and jokes at the expense of Cori's lineup of exes, I could hear my mother's voice say in her clipped English accent, "Remember, Taiyo, you can try to drown your troubles in ales and such, but problems swim." I mentally stuck my tongue out at her. I hope you enjoy this reading from an excerpt from a book that I had actually started and will never finish. And so goes every single book that I have attempted to start. But I did get a little further in this one, so I definitely want to share more of it with you. I would certainly like to hear from you in the comments section below. Let me know what you think. And I would also like to thank you for taking the time to listen. This will be one of many, and I hope you decide to come back and subscribe. You guys know how to do all those wonderful YouTube things. Subscribe, hit the bell button, and all that jazz. But I would like to leave you on that note. Toodles.